your journey you double down on F&B industry. अगर हम कोई भी पॉडकास्ट देख लें एक चीज़ जो निकल के आती है कि यार इसमें तो मत ही घुसना, पैसे ही नहीं बनते हैं.
So it is a high risk business. Very few people succeed at it, but I think a lot of businesses are such.
अगर कोई अभी स्टार्ट करने जा रहा है, what are some of the key metrics that you will suggest them?
You must understand what is your product offering, and what is your category.
Right.
You can do a great product, but if your location is not good, you will always suffer.
India से do you feel कि there is a brand which has potential, or you have plans to maybe take this to countries outside India?
So I think I would definitely see a lot of brands going there in the next 5-6 years.
The customer in this particular category is very price sensitive when they come to a restaurant.
I think India is a price sensitive market no matter what we say.
So what are 2 or 3 traits in celebrities that are non-negotiable for you?
So it depends if you want to engage the celebrity as an investor, as a partner, or is it a licensed product?
अगर किसी को brand build करनी है, so what are 2 or 3 key levers?
Somebody who's establishing a brand, at that time you're very local.
Right.
So your local marketing is very important. Your word of mouth is very important. Your local level marketing through discovery platforms is very important.
Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Growthcast podcast. Today I have with me Sahil, who is co-founder and partner of Now Capital Group. He has leading restaurant chains spread across India. This episode is going to be quite unique क्योंकि हम restaurant और F&B industry के बारे में समझेंगे. So do stay till the end. Hi Sahil, welcome to Growthcast podcast, and first of all thank you so much for taking out time. I would like to start with understanding your career journey. What's your background and what you're doing currently?
Sure, thanks. We're very glad to be here. I've been seeing your podcast, and it's I'm sure it's very helpful to a very wide audience. So great job so far.
Thank you so much.
I've been doing a lot of things in my life. I've had a very adventurous career, to say the least. So I started my career in Los Angeles actually. Where I actually dropped out of college and started a content production company pre-YouTube era. So I wish we knew we were a content production company. We just thought we shoot videos, right? So I was lucky enough that, we saw a lot of growth. We did Hollywood, Bollywood content, which was very novel at that time. I was able to make some money out of it. I eventually moved into IT startups, made some little money, decided what everybody at that age, I was 25, so what do you do if you come into a little bit of money? Let's open a bar. So nice. I opened a bar in Toronto, lost all my money. But then eventually I actually did my MBA from INSEAD, and I started my own venture capital fund in Delhi in 2014, which was focused on the F&B sector, food and beverage, and media. And up until COVID, we did that. And then beyond COVID, we decided, we've been investing and building companies. Let's just do it for ourselves to mitigate the risk and, plan the way forward after COVID.
Right.
And since then, I run a bar chain now across multiple cities. I run a coffee chain. And most recently, we started a bar with Sunny Leone in Noida.
Nice.
So, that's in a nutshell. So.
I'd like to touch base on your INSEAD journey. INSEAD is known as Makkah of consulting. From there, you directly ventured into entrepreneurship. So what was the mental model framework there, and how you opted for it?
So, INSEAD, versus other MBA schools, has a bit of an older audience. The average age is around 27 to 29, maybe even 30. And it is a much more global audience.
Right.
So your worldview completely changes when you enter there. It's not US-centric, it's not India-centric. You are truly a global citizen.
Right.
I've had roommates who were from Bulgaria and Germany, best friends from Lebanon to Singapore, right? So when you have such a worldview, your ambitions and plans become not just larger in scope, but also uninhibited. Like you want to do everything and anything. You feel like, you've learned so much about this world which you never knew.
Right.
Of course, it's a great consulting hub. And most of my friends are now either at the big four firms or one of those big four firms into industry. And I tried. I just didn't feel it was for me. INSEAD is also a big entrepreneurship school now. In fact, as we were just talking when we were starting, a lot of popular startups out of India now, they've been founded by INSEADers. So INSEAD is very big on entrepreneurship as well. And that's where I truly found my spirit. And I tried various things. I really thought INSEAD helped me bring everything together.
Right.
And it was risky. After spending a huge sum of money on education, you definitely want to recoup some of that money, and it's easier to do it in international markets.
Right.
But I think India, anywhere I was going, in fact, any interview I gave, any company I talked to, was always talking to me about what it would be in India. Right. I was exploring advertising, leadership roles or rotational leadership programs in advertising. I was exploring heavily in F&B as well,
Right.
because since I had ventured into it a little bit. So the combination of having a skill in an industry like food and beverage, but also polishing it with an MBA or having deep finance knowledge or marketing knowledge kind of sets you apart.
Right.
So a lot of funds actually who were trying to enter into this space in India were interviewing me at that time. In fact, there are some major firms, I don't know if I should say or not, but some brands were entering India at that time and they were building a team to do it.
Okay.
And I kept interviewing with them, and I had like 17 rounds of interviews.
17.
Yeah, and I thought I have it in the bag. But as luck would have it, or as destiny, it didn't work out. They got bought out by a larger fund. Their leadership changed, and I'm like, I'm not going through another 17 rounds. And in fact, my first venture when I started Now Capital, our fund, was a competitor to that very company that was being launched.
Oh,
So it was good fun. It's just kind of serendipity how it all worked out in my favor, or just things were so much about India that we thought, let me just move back and explore here locally.
yeah. If I talk about normal middle class, I think सबको लगता है कि ticket to freedom है कि maybe we get a job in US and Canada, we stay there for 10-15 years, we'll have some savings, then we'll come back to India. But you have lived both the lives. You
Yeah.
have been there for 10 years now, you are here for good 10-12 years. What's the
Right.
difference that you find? And if somebody is having that aspiration, can that be fulfilled by being in India itself? If we talk about next 10-5 years.
So I think it's so rapidly evolved that my views change every couple of years.
Oh.
If I were to judge in early 2000s when I went to the US, it was unheard of people to try and move back. Right. In 2013ish, when I was at INSEAD, it was still up in the air, right? We didn't know. A lot of people were exploring back in India. There was a growth story. A lot of companies wanted to enter India, but we didn't know how it will all unravel. It was
Right.
a lot of uncertainty.
Right.
So I think a lot of it also depends on what sector you pick. And it's definitely, I think after an MBA or after spending time somewhere, you must, at a certain age in your 20s or mid to late 20s, spend time in a big international city, be it a New York, London, LA, somewhere big, so that you really understand what the world works like.
Right.
And if you've studied there, do take up a job. And if consulting is your way, do learn. They teach you a lot. It's another MBA in itself.
Right.
So it gives you skills that are unparalleled. So yes, they're hard and you're stuck there, you have some commitment. But I think if you can, you must.
Right.
I just always had a lot of clarity around what I want to pursue. If I have a certain dream, I am a high risk taker.
Right.
Not everybody is, and not everybody should be.
Right.
I just have that appetite that yes, I would swing big, risk big if I believe in something.
Right.
So when I dropped out of college during my undergrad years, I knew I wanted to pursue content production.
Right.
When I pursued a restaurant, I did it with all my will. And even when I moved back to India, it was because I felt there's a story to tell. It
Right.
gave me an identity.
Right.
That when I was in North America, I was the Indian who's here doing a certain thing.
Right.
And when I moved back, I'm like this crazy guy who had all these chances to work and live in these cities, but he's chosen to now come to Delhi and then open a restaurant in Lucknow, in Gorakhpur, in Patiala, in Nawashehar, in Surat.
Right.
I thought those were untapped markets and somebody needed to make that move. And now, those are stories everybody is pursuing.
Right. And in your journey you double down on F&B industry. अगर हम कोई भी पॉडकास्ट देख लें, एक चीज़ जो निकल के आती है कि यार इसमें तो मत ही घुसना, पैसे ही नहीं बनते हैं. तो आपने ये कैसे कौन सा फ्रेमवर्क अप्लाई किया?
नहीं, वो सही सोचते हैं लोग. एक्चुअली क्या F&B ना हम एक बहुत बड़े सेक्शन को पैकेज कर रहे हैं, राइट? फॉर मी अब and I know, we all Indians के लिए क्या है कि food is so close to us, and we think barrier to entry is very low, especially in Delhi and northern markets, right? सबको लगता है कि हम तो घर पे खाना भी अच्छा बनाते हैं, खाना क्रिटिक भी अच्छा करते हैं, और ये नहीं तो मैं घर से रेसिपी ले लूँगा. But the business is not about making the good food. It's not enjoying food only, right? The business of food starts from a QSR model, which is your local pan shop or even a McDonald's, right? And goes all the way to a nightclub or experiential dining, right? Let's leave the hotel industry apart, just the restaurant hospitality space. Now, usme kya hai, every segment is very different, and depending on where you want to start, your access to capital makes a big difference. Your understanding of your product, do I want to do a small momo shop and scale it? Then my initial capex is very low. Then my OPEX is very different, and my scalability is my aim. So I know I will raise funds or make it scalable, even if I am a chef. The second segment becomes restaurants and casual dining. Your capex goes into a few, 70, 80 lakhs to a few early small crores. But then you need to understand that market. How dependent are you on other people? What role do you play in this business? And then you can go all the way to a nightclub where you're spending a couple of $1 million.
Right.
And it's very experiential and it's going to have a very high return if it works, but for a very short time.
Right.
Whereas the QSR giving you a small return for a very long time.
Right.
And I think restaurants, a lot of people also need to decide what are they looking for. Are they looking for return on investment or is it return on ego?
Okay.
ROE is what I call it, right? People want to do it and then get a lot of validation and attention out of it, right? They don't really understand the business.
Right.
So it is a high risk business. Very few people succeed at it, but I think a lot of businesses are such. And it has low barrier to entry, so people jump into it. But if you know your economics, you're able to crack a product. I think it's an ever-growing. I mean, we've seen enough examples in a fast-growing market. If you grow with the consumer trends, you can really capture a good market.
Got it. And as a restaurant owner yourself, अगर कोई अभी start करने जा रहा है, what are some of the key metrics that you will suggest them कि always track these key metrics and these should always fall in place if you're starting a restaurant business?
So I think I think we should discuss about a few things they should keep in mind.
Okay.
And then we can correlate to what metrics.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So I think one, as we were talking, you must understand what is your product offering. And what is your category? From a QSR to a nightclub, where do you fit in?
Right.
Which also brings you to, what kind of market are you entering? Is it a very competitive red ocean, right? Strategy, or is it some opportunity that you're tapping into? Right? Make sure it's not a marketing trend that you're just jumping into.
Right.
So understand your target market in terms of your consumer also. Are they young, old? What kind of spending power? What kind of billing? So once you have understanding of all of that, is when you can move on to other metrics.
Right.
And secondly is you'll have limited resources at all times, be it your time or be it the money you are investing or you're raising. So if you're a QSR, you need to explore where would that money and time go. Would it be in building a supply chain and training, or versus a bar or a high energy restaurant where it's more about the experience, your interiors, your chefs, where those also matter. Right. So that planning will come into play a lot, because usually people mismanage the resources before they even start the restaurant, because money is gone, you don't have understandings of cash flows and credit cycles. So by the time you open the restaurant, you've invested too much into the interiors, you don't have marketing money, or you don't understand कि inventory cost क्या होगी, right? तो खुलने से पहले you've already put yourself in a hole. And thirdly is the kind of team you build. Most restaurants, be it a QSR or be it a larger project or a larger chain, I've seen people build very strong teams. Now teams don't only need to be financial investing partners, they can be your operating partners, they can be equity partners, they could be your mentors. People are very shy in this industry to reach out to other restaurateurs because उनको लगता है तो सब competition ही है, right? Versus I'm part of the National Restaurant Association and people are so willing to share information and experiences. Because we have a tough fight. There are a lot of licensing issues, there are policy issues, taxation issues, and we always come together to discuss and share experiences. Right. So even young entrepreneurs can often reach out and people are very helpful. And that will always help you plan ahead. And for example, I had somebody who was starting a bar and he reached out, he didn't know how to reach out to alcohol companies. And I walked him through how he can actually gain a lot of credit and offers from them, although he is new, how he can actually barter with marketing companies, how can he engage influencers, which the learning curve would have taken him 7 to 9 months to actually he would have figured it out. He's a smart guy. It would have taken 8 to 9 months, तब तक वो working capital सारा खत्म हो चुका होता. So by the time you know क्या करना है, you're like अब पैसे नहीं है, right? अब restaurant ऐसा तो है नहीं कि आप round raise कर लोगे, right? So people often fall into these traps. I think then the metrics, there's a set of metrics that you need to understand before opening. Right. Which is कि if you're building a model, आपका operating model में rental, which is usually 12 to 15%, और उसके अंदर भी of sales, अब higher भी होता है, but that is a very comfortable zone to play in. You have to be careful of GST because there is no GST input that we get in the restaurant industry. So you must take into account if somebody is quoting you, let's say 5 lakhs of rental, it's 5 lakh plus GST is your outflow. So you need to plan that, right? And a lot of developers and people will work with landlords, will work with revenue share as well. So you need to figure out, is it a fixed cost or is it a variable cost now? Okay, revenue के साथ vary करेगा. Right. Food costs are usually around 30% plus minus, but it depends what you're offering, right? In a QSR, your food cost may be higher, but your volume, you need to play on the volume.
Right.
And then you'll have loss leaders. Ki, theek hai, I know, मैं वही McAloo Tikki burger example, right? Ki I'll sell aloo tikki burger at a loss, but make money on a cheaper on another product.
Yes,
right. So you need to figure those out in your menu mix. Because people often focus on quality, and I think if as an entrepreneur you like quality, give quality. Don't compromise on quality, but understand the repercussions.
Right.
I'll give you a example before going on other metrics. So at Roadies, we wanted to take gourmet pizza to tier 2 markets. And हमने क्या 100% cheese, 100% ये best flour, double zero, Italy से ये सब कुछ. But when we reached there, the audience wanted it, but that was a niche audience. What audience was used to was Domino's and other people had already, and that's a great product. And people were very, उनको लगता है stringy तो है ही नहीं, right? ये तो dry out हो रहा है, right? Which was the quality of that authentic product.
Right.
So we had to actually dilute down, not the quality, but make blends that would actually be more recognizable. Because we weren't technically doing a very niche high-end restaurant. We were doing a QSR format.
Right.
So we didn't realize कि वो mismatch कैसे होगा. So you need to understand this balance. So food costs and quality balance is important. And lastly, a big metric that hits people is the cost of human resource, the salaries, right? Because that's a very big fixed cost that you take on. Unlike a lot of international restaurants, they are used to the format of part-time workers and leveraging that are almost like a manageable cost, variable cost. But इसमें ऐसा नहीं है. Once you hire people here, you're stuck with that monthly very heavy overhead.
I think काफी high रहता है.
Hey, so I mean, a lot of people don't spend in training and resource building till they get to a certain scale.
Right.
So hence, as I said, when you're building a team, focus on those people. Maybe you need somebody who has a command in the kitchen, who has people he can bring in and people can follow him.
Right.
If you are, let's say, a restaurateur, you may not have yet become a great chef or a manager or a marketing expert, but you may not be able to convince chefs to follow you. Right. So you may need a partner who can bring in and hold on to his team. So that metric becomes very critical.
नहीं, we have talked about metric. मैं साहिल में कोई चीज़ ये समझनी थी कि if we talk about numbers, is there any revenue predictability? क्या वो models build होके our restaurant owner able to predict कि monthly this is my runway इतना तो होगा ही होगा, or it is unpredictable because depends a lot on audience taste या seasonality?
So I think बिल्कुल है, but the more nuanced and more deeper you get into this market, and if you have this, all of the things we've touched upon, if you actually think about all of these things in depth,
right.
Now comes the most sacrosanct, thing in the restaurant industry, which is location. Right? Often, if you'll talk in the olden days, we all digital marketing, there was all location. Now you can create hype, you can create product familiarity and all of that, but location is still very, very key. Right. You can do a great product, but if your location is not good, you will always suffer.
Right.
The location has to fit into your idea.
Right.
So the location is what will lead you to predictability.
Right.
Okay. Let's say we talk about extensions in Gurgaon and Noida. Those are the faster growing segments. You need to be patient. You'll need to go in today and predict कि sales धीरे-धीरे grow होंगी. Versus the industry as such today is more like the film industry. You have to open big and make your money. Your return of capital should be within a certain time frame, at least 12 to 18 months. If you're not looking at it or at least trying for it in a more bar or a nightlife format, you'll struggle.
Right.
So predictability mein, if you do, there are in certain ways. Let's say if it's a larger QSR like even a coffee chain like Starbucks or even Blue Tokai now, when they pick a location, they would spend a few weeks just studying footfalls, studying the vicinity, कि वहाँ पे कितना spend है, कितना क्या है, and build these models where they would also have a lot of past data. Right. So the trick is when you have past data, you can compare. So comparables are great. For example, I told you we started our venture capital journey with Carl's Jr. entering India. Yeah. So when we were modeling Carl's Jr., so we picked up numbers from KFC and Domino's and McDonald's. But what we didn't realize, they already had a very large footprint, a lot more brand familiarity.
Right.
So we had to discount them. So we built a model कि अच्छा उनकी सेल इतनी है, इस एरिया में इतनी है, हम इस एरिया में सिमिलर कर सकते हैं, बट हमारे मेन्यू मिक्स है, हम इतना करेंगे. And then you backward calculate कि क्या मेरी variable cost, fixed cost इसमें cover हो रही है कि नहीं, feasibility study, right? You would do that feasibility study. And often I recommend for people who are not able to figure this out, वैसे अब तो काफ़ी data. I mean, anything you'll think of, somebody is doing some parallel to it.
Right.
And you can find out data, you can talk to, there are people who would help you, can talk to POS companies, you can talk to marketeers who would give you a range. Even restaurateurs themselves, or even Zomato, if you talk to the regional managers, they would tell you a guide you of what vicinity you can aim for in a number.
Expect कर सकते हो.
A lot of times I tell people, if they are experimenting with an idea or if it's new to them, there's no harm trying to make it a pop-up, collaborate with somebody, start small, test it out. Do
Right.
like small A/B testing, what is working, what's not working, and maybe talk to a restaurateur or to a company to market it a little bit. Test your product if it's just a food product or the concept. Right? Do something like that, and you'll get a fair idea of how the consumer is reacting. So yeah, it's a lot of modeling. There's a lot of risk, but you can build the risk and that prediction into that model.
Right.
Not everybody wants to sit on an Excel sheet and do this kind of modeling. You can do some rough back of the envelope calculations also and run it by people. So I think the best way to see if other people, let's say real estate brokers who would get you the location, mall developers if you have access to them, or even local developers, talk to other restaurateurs, talk to platforms like Zomato, Dine Out, right? What do they think? Their regional folks have a lot of deep knowledge because they're on the ground talking to everybody.
Right.
If you talk to these people about your predictions, you can fairly judge how far off you are.
Got it.
And even chefs and local servers and bartenders who are in the industry, they know because they're selling on ground.
Right.
Talk to them. Being in this industry, you have to be a people's person in the way that you will have to go and talk to people. So the first step is, before you put in your money or somebody else's money, test it out.
Got it. And you talked a lot about international brands such as Carl's Jr. What was your experience working with them, and वो पूरी learning क्या निकल के आई by engaging with them and bringing them to India?
So no, early on, so Carl's Jr. was the first brand I actually went in. We went in as investors, and I was a director with the company to build it out. And then Virat Singh through UV Ventures also was part of it. I think it was a very different way of approaching business, because there are thousands of restaurants across the world.
Got it.
So their expertise is the reliability on the supply chain. So in India, what we often think of is how McDonald's and Domino's, when they entered in their respective fields, they've set up the supply chain for others to follow.
Right.
If they hadn't done that, we couldn't have built upon it.
Right.
आज organic avocado भी मिल सकता है, because एक आलू की supply chain पहले बनी थी, right? एक factory लगी थी जिसको इतनी supply मिली, तो वो हम आलू तो हम taken for granted लेते कि ये fries तो आ ही जाएंगे. Hence we are worried about avocado now. Right. So I think through Carl's I learned how an international concept is fitted into a new country. And we were in talks with multiple brands, and Carl's Jr. was very well versed with the Indian culture. They knew the difference between paneer and soy, कि paneer important है, vegetarianism कितना important है, health conscious कितना करना है, and within the competition landscape कैसे operate करना है. And they taught us how to really track, use technology, use past data to predict things. For example, Carl's Jr. में there's unlimited soft drinks. जो बहुत कम जगहों पे ही होती है कि if you buy a meal and then you can have as much coke or Pepsi, हाँ refill जितना मर्जी कर लो. So ऐसा you're like, कितना पी जाएंगे लोग, और इंडिया में तुम पागल हो, लोग एक बंदा लेगा और 10 पिएंगे, और हम it's a young people's food, कोई सब पिएंगे. They said we've done this across so many countries. Your average comes out to 1.4x per person, 1.4 glasses, right? You price yourself around 1.5 and you'll be fine. Right. So it's the law of averages कि अच्छा over time it will not hurt you, and it's a great offering, and that's what happened.
Right.
So this is something, because they have tons of data, tons of knowledge from so many years. So that was something to learn from. What we took away from it, now India evolved so rapidly. You need to indigenize the investment, the equipment, and the capex to a very local business feasibility. Right. Otherwise, if you're spending in dollars and thinking in dollars and spending and earning in rupees, it's going to be a mismatch. Right. So you build stores with the Indian mindset. You can easily. India is a great country to indigenize any equipment. I think I've had a great experience doing that. Lower your capex significantly, and then you find your pace. So you'll see a lot of international brands. They enter India. They take some time settling down, because पहले सब कुछ import होके सब कुछ ऐसे बड़ा बनाते हैं. And then they find the right size, the right capex to build, and they understand the market. So थोड़ा time लगता है. So adapting to that was great.
Got it. हमने इंटरनेशनल ब्रांड्स की बात कर ली, मतलब पार्डन माई लेस नॉलेज है, बट आई सी अगर इंटरनेशनली तो साउथ इंडियन कुछ ब्रांड्स हैं आपकी, जैसे सरोना भवन, ये इंटरनेशनल स्केल पे हैं. नॉर्थ इंडिया से डू यू फील कि देयर इज अ ब्रांड व्हिच हैज पोटेंशियल, और यू हैव प्लान्स टू मे बी टेक दिस टू कंट्रीज आउटसाइड इंडिया?
Sure, I think I would love to. So I think I'm always trying out new niche concepts that I want to take abroad. But I mean, I think even interesting concepts like fuzzy have gone international.
Okay.
Indian accent, of course, has gone international in a big way. So a more gourmet or a more refined Indian experience has been, going global.
Right.
Obviously, Haldiram and Bikaner are doing fantastic.
Right.
Savana Bhavan is doing fantastic.
Right.
But I think new age companies now are definitely looking at rolling out elsewhere, especially the delivery models. And Indian food actually has had its moment in the last few years in the US, in Europe for a very long time.
Right.
From QSR to fine dining, Michelin stars, everything is happening.
Right.
So I think I would definitely see a lot of brands going there in the next 5-6 years. Especially, I mean, through the Dubai route, they'll go to Dubai, Singapore, and then elsewhere for sure.
Got it. And do you feel ki the customer in this particular category is very price sensitive when they come to a restaurant? Does price play a very important or key differentiator between, say, a restaurant A or a restaurant B when it comes
Definitely. I think India is a price sensitive market no matter what we say. And obviously it varies geography to geography. So we've had a restaurant in Chandigarh, which we thought it's a very close to Delhi kind of a market. But people actually are so, entitled is the wrong word, but they're so used to being exposed to offers and having choices that they can see value very easily, right?
Okay.
I mean, they can identify कि इसमें value है कि नहीं. Versus in a smaller city, if you do something refined and upscale, people like, तो महंगा ही होगा, right? ये तो होता ही होगा, बाहर की brand है या ऐसी है, पर perception है. So they would make up their mind कि हाँ ठीक है, यहाँ complain नहीं करेंगे, पैसे देंगे, but we'll get the money's worth. So it varies, but I feel finding the right balance of value and price is the key. The key. So if I see, I mean, one of my favorite examples is social, right? It's a great experience, great value for money. It's not overtly cheap, but you definitely feel कि जितना पैसा दिया था उतना मेरे को मिला.
ROI निकल
So
रहा है.
you know, we did this brand IHOP, which is one of the largest casual dining chains in the world. So we brought them here, and there some of their items were 600. There was a 600 rupee burger. There was omelets were like 500, 600 rupees, but they were 6 egg omelets. They were built for an American audience.
Right.
So although people did find them expensive, but when they saw कि यार ये तो 2 बंदे खा सकते हैं, तो मैं घर भी ले जाऊँगा तो 3 दिन खत्म नहीं होगा, then they find it justified. So I think Indian audience, if they find value, they will spend money. Of course, you have to be in the right geography, right market to have that kind of a product. But they see value, not just price sensitivity. If they see कि हाँ इस पे मज़ा आया, so even in celebrity-driven restaurants that we do, if they feel कि हाँ I've gotten an experience out of it.
Right.
So although I always believe we never play in a very high price range, in a mid price range, upper price mid range, if they see कि हाँ the experience added to my value, they'll pay for it.
Got it. You are working with lot of celebrities on their restaurant. Even I see agar news, Virat Kohli is launching his restaurant, Suresh Raina is launching their restaurant. So is the margin or maybe scope to make money so high that these people are drawn towards this industry? And what has been your experience of working with celebrities?
So the Virat Kohli, he's part of 1-8. So he's 1-8 restaurants are doing phenomenally well.
Right.
So I think what's happened is a lot of restaurants and bars and food concepts, when they need differentiation or you need to build something around an experience,
Right.
all right, an experiential product, it's great to have an existing brand, right? So I think they often partner with restaurant experts or people to build a company that would then distill their brand into an experience. That's what we did with Roadies, right? To how to convert Roadies ka experience into a coffee shop experience.
Right.
It's a high energy coffee shop, right? Also makes it different ki acha, it's not a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons where you're not chilling aram se, right? It's a high energy place. A lot is happening. It's Roadies, right? But it's not drinking. It's high energy coffee. That's the same experience we had with Sunny when we met ki acha, how do we distill such a global experience into something more exciting and interesting, right? And people were intrigued. So, but a lot of celebrities also realize, I mean, they partner ki acha, it'll intrigue people. People will come once, but the product has to be very strong.
Right.
A lot of celebrity restaurants which have not worked out are either because it was too far disconnected from the celebrity's personality. It was just that they're part of the team, or the product wasn't strong. People will still come once, and in fact, I think it's more riskier sometimes because people more easily judge you and critique you, right? And they would love because you're more in attention.
Right.
So you're more in the limelight, but you're critiqued more as well. So you need to be more careful. But if you're able to find that balance, key, what is the celebrity connect? It'll connect to the audience if your restaurant product is the same. And then you need to sustain the experience, the value, the price, the food. And if all of that works, then it works out beautifully.
Got it. You talked about celebrity connect. So when you are approaching or when you are thinking about partnership, so what are 2 or 3 traits in celebrities that are non-negotiable for you? कि यार ये तो होनी चाहिए तभी I can go ahead and maybe do a partnership with them.
So it depends if you want to engage the celebrity as an investor,
Okay.
as a partner, or is it a licensed product?
Okay.
So for example, Roadies is a licensed product for us. It's like how if Marvel decides कि अच्छा Iron Man t-shirts बेचते हैं, so they license the name to an operator, and that's how it works. They partner with you, etc. So उसमें क्या है कि we have it's more of a business decision कि what are the economics, what are the payouts, what are the fees, and what are the deliverables on both ends.
Right.
Right. That's a licensing contract.
Right.
You can have a celebrity invest in you, which we've seen a lot of celebrities now using their family office to invest. In terms of equity, they would often put in money, but also put in the brand value,
They
right?
bring
Where
their face.
so your negotiations are more around what are you getting in return. Money is one, right? Money to you maybe you were able to get from other people also, but if you're getting their endorsement or their time, their face, their IP, what can you really do with it? What are the rules and regulations? Because of course, you know, big celebrities will have their legal teams and their own brand to protect.
Right.
So that's the negotiation. So for me, third is usually I try to partner with whoever we are working with in a more closer format, where they also believe in the product.
Right.
It's something that also identifies with one of their values or characteristics.
Kind of
So
co-founder role.
Not just in terms of co-founder role is great if you can achieve that, but also in terms of what they stand for.
Right.
Right? If it's glamour, then you're doing glamour. If they're into health, you're doing health. So वो disconnect नहीं होना चाहिए. So that way they're also happy endorsing it. It's not a financial transaction.
Right.
And the more deeply involved in the business they are, the better. Right? And then it's up to you how much can you engage with them. So you need to get along with them as a co-founder.
Right.
And if they believe in you. So, we're doing a new cocktail at our Chica. So Chica Loca by Sunny Leone is the restaurant we do, restaurant and bar with Sunny. So we just did a
Can
drink.
you talk about the concept about this restaurant and the ideation, how
Sure.
you came up with the idea?
So Sunny, Daniel, and I met through a common friend.
Okay.
And they were also they were exploring. They've often been approached for various restaurant concepts and cafes, and we were also thinking we wanted to do something high energy in terms of bars, restaurants, and explore like an ecosystem around. Because we had great experience with all these licensing brands and international brands.
Right.
So I think we all got off on a great note where we'd all lived in different parts of the world, had good and bad experiences moving to different cities and interacting with all sorts of people. So we thought, let's distill and make it a very fun and approachable place, right? Where everybody is welcome and it's a great time, right? So we necessarily won't stick to a nightclub, but we'll try different formats. So currently we launched in Noida, which is again like, a novel approach to start a market which is fast growing.
Right.
And that's, we got a
The
great
framework
response.
that you talked about initially.
Right. So we got a great response very early on. We had great economics very early on. And now we're expanding to Lucknow. So we started with the resto bar format, which is a high energy restaurant. A very high focus on food, cocktails, dining in. It has nightlife, but it's not a club.
Right.
In Lucknow, we're now launching a nightclub.
Right.
And then we're looking at a restaurant format in southern India as well. So we're doing different formats around Sunny. But Sunny's involvement is quite deep in terms of making the menu. We've built a lot of experiences around stories from her life. So people kind of find it exciting to know her, things that they don't know about her life, and things that she likes and does, and what's happening in Bollywood. So, it keeps the entertainment quotient alive as well. Plus, the product itself, we focused very heavily on the service, the food, the quality. So that's what's happened. So what I was telling you is, we've just recently launched a new cocktail, which is actually based on a energy bar that Sunny has invested in.
Oh.
So, and she's part of that team. She's endorsing, investing, and growing that brand. And we thought that's a great connect. So we use that energy. It's a high caffeine energy bar. So we use that in a cocktail.
Right.
So we kind of brought everything together. So
Where you get your inspiration for these kind of cocktails or mocktails, या जो भी आप menu design करते हैं, do you invest personally a lot of time in studying about what's happening around you or maybe world is?
Bilkul. I think these are things within the restaurant industry. I think every founder will have something that they enjoy doing.
Right.
Some people really enjoy doing interiors. Some people do menus. Some people do cocktails. Some people are great at marketing. Right. So everybody has some strength that brought them to this industry.
Right.
So for me, since I came from a media background, and I was always more interested in interesting, creative concepts.
Right.
So cocktails and progressive cuisines often allow you to mix all these things.
Right.
So I do personally travel a lot, explore a lot. I'm not ashamed to copy paste or remix things. And I work, and of course we work closely with a lot of accomplished bartenders and chefs.
Right.
And nothing to take away from their expertise, right? But it's like you're a producer you're a producer director who using actors to deliver a performance.
Right.
It's that kind of a vibe. So that's what happens.
Got it. And say, Sahil, if somebody is interviewing with you, if I have to talk about audience because they are also actively looking out for jobs,
Sure.
what are some of the skills that you look at? And if somebody wants to enter into this industry, तो क्या prerequisite हैं जो आप value करते हैं as an interviewer or somebody who's hiring people?
I think in running restaurants from across all formats, I think multitasking is very important. You need to be comfortable in chaos.
Right.
Because restaurants are generally, even the best performing ones, you can't see it, but everything is very high energy. If not,
Right.
if chaos is the wrong, it's organized chaos. Right? It's very much like how the Indian system works. It's something about it is very chaotic, but everything falls into place.
Right.
So you need to be comfortable in high energy, ambiguity, and thinking on your feet, and being open to doing multiple roles. You can't come in saying, "Yeah, I'm a finance guy," but not understand how food is working. Right? You can only be a great cost controller for a restaurant if you know how the restaurant is working in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right? So I think being able to learn and grow in different roles is very important.
Got it. And there was a lot of chatter and it keeps on happening about these delivery platforms, Zomato and Swiggy.
Sure.
Taking away businesses from restaurant. What's your take on it and how do you look at them as a partner, as a competition?
Sure.
What is your take there?
I think it's been an evolution. Okay. So I think when they came on early and still, I mean, fees are high and all those problems do exist.
Right.
They don't work out for everybody. Some formats and business models are built purely around these models where they partner with them or they know they can deliver and make that money. For a lot of restaurants, it's just marketing. I see it as a marketing cost. They have great visibility. They're great aggregator and discovery platforms. So I think it's evolved into a place where we've found the synergy.
Right.
So it's improving, right? So people who know how to balance it out, it's improving. And you need to know how to leverage that platform. If you can save some marketing money elsewhere and double down on some marketing, there are results that you will see.
Got it. Sahil, I think audience would also like to understand from you how these platforms like say Dine Out या Zomato Gold work, because they offer discount. Restaurant की एक price होती है, आप इनके through जाते हो तो आपको एक थोड़ी less price मिलती है, discount मिलता है. How this whole economics work, how they come up with that number?
So there are certain discounts that the restaurant offers,
Okay.
right? And there are certain discounts that the platform themselves fund.
Okay.
And there's co-funding as well, where both teams will get together and feel कि अच्छा इतना discount करते हैं, इतना आप देना, इतना हम देंगे, in the spirit of marketing.
Right.
And then we spend more money on their platforms. I mean, they incentivize us to spend more money on their platforms to advertise.
Okay.
And then more business they get, if it's through their platforms, we also pay them a commission
Got it.
on people who come through that platform. They also have tie-ups with banks and credit cards who also co-fund certain discounts.
Got it.
So not all discounts are purely led by the restaurant or purely led by the platform. It's a balance.
Got it.
And the better you're doing, the more you can negotiate. It works in that direction. But yeah, it's very heavy on a dine-in restaurant. Or a delivery platform always kind of starts by focusing कि मेरे को pricing रखनी है ऐसे कि इतनी discounting देनी है. In a dining platform, there's also a dining menu, right? So you have to. It's hard to kind of just built in. A lot of people started कि अच्छा हम 25% price बढ़ा के delivery पे डाल देते हैं या online डाल देते हैं, right? Then customers are very smart. They're very discerning, right? We are also customers. We understand that. So to find the right balance. कि अच्छा अगर delivery में है तो this is the cost of delivery. And if you're usually a purely dining restaurant doesn't want to enter delivery, but yes, it definitely wants to go through these platforms for discovery for dine-in,
Right.
which they are doing and providing a lot of marketing for now.
Right.
So I see it as if your product is really good, you won't have go into deep discounting, right? You'll find the right balance between platform discounts, a little bit of discount you can offer, and co-funded through other credit cards or other platforms to manage it. If your product is good, if you're desperately trying to just attract people by discounts, then you've already commoditized your product and you've entered a price war that you'll keep spiraling down further and further. So you need to work on your product कि अच्छा बंदा क्या कि यार अगर 35% नहीं मेरे को 20 भी मिल रहा है but product इतना अच्छा है कि मैं 20% से खुश हूँ. That is the fight now.
think
It's not
quality
about
का
going
भी
deeper
right.
कि how can I bring कि अच्छा 35 सब देने कि मेरे को 20% पे भी चल जाएगा, कुछ तो आजकल देना ही पड़ेगा. Right, so you can't, so a lot of, I mean, the pricing strategies are you built in from a price कि अच्छा इसको discount करके हम चला देंगे. Right, so you often have some products or some menu ranges where you can afford that discount.
तो साहिल, अगर किसी को ब्रांड बिल्ड करनी है, सो व्हाट आर 2 or 3 की लीवर्स एंड व्हाट इज द टाइमलाइन दैट वन शुड लुक एट? जैसे D2C में कि आप शार्क टैंक पे चले जाओ, फिर आप अपना कुछ अपने डिस्काउंट रन कर दो या पुश मार्केटिंग कर दो, मे बी फॉर 2-3 years, देयर आर चांसेस कि आपकी थोड़ी डिसेंट ब्रांड बन जाएगी. बट इफ यू हैव टू बिल्ड अ ब्रांड, आपने बिल्ड कर रखी है, तो व्हाट आर 2 or 3 थिंग्स दैट वर्क फॉर यू? अगर किसी को करनी है, व्हाट दे शुड बी डूइंग?
It's a great question. I think, of course, I mean, D2C is a very different world. It's, a lot of things are easy to do only online. Your strategies are different. Here, the thing is, you have an offline experience where no matter if you want to increase your reach far and wide, you're ultimately a local business. Right. Yes, once you become a chain and you're in multiple cities, your market budgets and your market reach is on a broader level. But when you're starting off, let's say somebody who's establishing a brand, at that time you're very local.
Right.
So your local marketing is very important. Your local influencers are important. And you need to know who are your influencers, right? I mean, they don't need to be, this, ye blogger hai, ye influencer hai. You need to know who will impact your business.
Right.
Your word of mouth is very important. Your local level marketing through discovery platforms is very important. People don't invest enough in, as I was saying, a lot of restaurants run out of money by the time they get to the marketing phase. They undervalue branding and marketing money. They don't invest the right amount of money in branding. Logo, packaging, अच्छा कैसे होना चाहिए. All these touch points in the first few months will make a big experience.
Right.
And I think आजकल restaurants में क्या है, अब वो time नहीं है कि where you'll gestate slowly. Because your operating costs are high, especially if you're in tier 1 or expensive locations.
आपको ब्रेक इवन करना पड़ेगा जल्दी.
हाँ, तो you might as well spend the marketing money early on, figure out your product early on, within the first couple of months, figure it all out. So, experiment fast, fail fast and adapt.
Right.
But yes, spend money on local marketing a lot more and customer experience a lot more. In the food space, nothing will get you more marketing than great customer experience.
Right. Word of mouth is
हाँ, but you can't be कि अच्छा you shy away from anything. मैं कहीं हूँ ही नहीं, just लोग मेरे को अपने आप ढूंढ ले. नहीं. You do your hygiene checks कि you're on all platforms. There are enough practices, enough experienced people to tell you कि अच्छा make sure your reviews are shared. You're sharing your success online.
Right.
I think sharing the success is great. Don't fake the success early on.
Right.
Like you start a new brand and you just keep faking कि it's good, it's great. People can see through it. Everybody will say their product is great. सब अच्छा खाना बनाते हैं, इसमें घर पे भी अच्छा ही खाना बनता है.
Right.
Right. So that सबका खाना अब आजकल अच्छा भी बहुत लगता है. It looks beautiful also.
Right. Right.
So your honesty has to come through. If you can get honest customer experience online and through platforms shared, that is the best early level brand building. Right. Very one-on-one experience level building.
नहीं, आई थिंक आपने एक पॉइंट और टच किया था, पैकेजिंग, एंड आई थिंक दैट इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. जस्ट टू गिव यू एन एग्जांपल, मी एंड माय फ्रेंड वे सिटिंग, हमने एक कॉफ़ी ऑर्डर की.
Right.
और वो कॉफ़ी जिस ब्रांड से है उसकी पैकेजिंग इतनी अच्छी थी, वी वर थिंकिंग कि यार ये बहुत ही फाड़ू टाइप का कोई कैफे होगा. जाते जाते हमने देखा एक छोटा सा घर, वहाँ पे एक क्लाउड किचन, और परसेप्शन हमारा 1 साल से बना हुआ था कि इस कैफे में जाना है. तो I think
aesthetics play a big part because we all like seeing beautiful things now.
Right.
And I think it adds to the taste and experience, because even if you're ordering just a coffee, right, everything for us is an experience.
Right.
And so even at Roadies Koffeehouz, all our cold coffees came in a can that was sealed right in front of you in the store. And then you open it like a beer can.
Oh, nice.
So that experience of opening a cold coffee like a beer can and carrying it anywhere just felt right with the brand. It got the vibe right, and it became our identity. Nice. So often these smaller things that you'll really focus on, not small things, but I mean important things that you'll focus on and spend money on. Right. And money doesn't need to be big. It needs to be on the right talent. Right. If you do that, it'll go a long way in making your brand identity. People need to associate, these are the things this brand is about. Right. Usually नहीं तो क्या होता है, people don't know. It's just everything looks too generic. Right. There's nothing to specifically identify your brand.
Right. I think एक मेरा curious question है कि how do you come up with name of these hotels and restaurant chains? कैसे आप डिसाइड करते हो कि चलो
अब तो AI आ गया है.
चैट GPT मतलब रेस्टोरेंट्स के नाम डिसाइड करना.
नहीं, I mean we often get inspiration there, but I think it's a creative process. It's a creative process. So I think you get, often there's inspiration from where the menu story came from or how people came together. So for example, Chica Loca we came up with because we thought when we were talking to Sunny and Daniel कि यार this is crazy. Everything that we're talking about doing is crazy, and the lives you've lived are so crazy. And Chica Loca means crazy girl.
Oh.
So we thought that pretty much encapsulates exactly what we want to say. So often you'll find some inspiration somewhere, and but when you're keeping a name, it has to be simple, it has to be easy to say, it has to be memorable. All of that things come into play. But it's a very hardcore creative process. I mean, you'll go deep down into coming up with names. Sometimes I've come up with such random names which people later on I think, "Arey, kya soch rahe the hum us time?"
Right.
So
I think this brings me to my last question. What's in store for you for next 3 years? And if we are talking about AI, do you see it making an intervention in the F&B industry as well?
sure. So I think AI has entered on the tech side for us already.
Okay.
Where it's enabled making lives easier in terms of report generations and studying data better, helping us write copy better, helping us design faster, agency dependency and agency turnarounds have become faster. So I think the processes have become faster
And efficient.
and efficient. Everybody writes great English now. All communication is so fantastic.
Grammar Nazis are super
Grammar
happy.
Nazis are super happy. So that, I am also one of those, so it makes life easier. It definitely, yahan tak to I think it's been a very easy place. From here on, I think it is to see, I think technology enablement is what will really help to in certain sectors. QSR and fast food where, dependency on speed is higher. You need speed for more money making.
Right.
Whereas more experiential driven things, I think we want to make things slow. We want slow food. We want more people driven things. So we want the dependency to be on that interaction.
Right.
वहाँ इतना भी I hope इतना impact ना आए और नहीं आ रहा अभी, because people want to hang out with friends, talk to a server, talk to a bartender who will make something special for them. That's still very important.
Right.
For me, I think one, we're definitely expanding Chika Loka. I've been going and researching the Northeast. I spent time traveling Northeast to see where the markets are. I'm spending a lot of time down South exploring those markets where the brand is already, people want the brand to come there. I'm also working on a new concept which is focused on food for kids.
Oh, nice. I think
So,
that will be very exciting.
Right. So it's a high energy kids restaurant. So we're working on that. And of course, I keep dabbling.
Old, definitely, I'll be the first one to come.
Great. Looking, because you will be my test market.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, a lot of crazy things always going on.
Thank you so much, Sahil, for taking out time.
Pleasure.
It was great interacting with you.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Do subscribe to the channel for more such content.